I never imagined that sharing a truck cab with someone could completely change my view of who I am, what I want, what it means to want someone who, theoretically, could never want you back. My name is Lucas. I'm 24. And 6 months ago, I fell in love with my route partner, Raphael. The problem? He's straight. At least, I think he is. Have you ever been attracted to someone impossible? It's like staring at the sun. You know you'll get burned, but you can't look away. Raphael is 28. He's a senior driver, been on the road longer than I have. When the company paired us up 6 months ago for the night runs down the highway, I thought it would just be another job, another guy to share the wheel with, swap shifts, pass the time on endless stretches of asphalt. I was wrong. Raphael has something different, a natural confidence without arrogance, a presence that fills the space without asking permission. He's athletic, with the rough hands of a mechanic. I've seen him take apart an alternator on the side of the road while chatting about football with that annoying ease of someone who doesn't have to try to be interesting. I should have seen the danger from the start, but I was naive. Or maybe I just didn't want to admit what I was feeling. The first trip was awkward. I didn't know what to say. We were silent for a good 40 minutes, just the sound of the engine and the asphalt rolling beneath the wheels, until Raphael broke the ice. "So, Lucas, are you the quiet type, or are you just afraid of me?" He laughed, that loose, slightly hoarse laugh that's become far too familiar for my own good. I gave a nervous smile. "No, man. I just don't know what you like to talk about." "About everything. Say anything. We're stuck here all night. Better we get to know each other quick." And that's how it started. That first night we talked about everything. He told me he grew up in the countryside, learned to drive trucks with his dad, moved to the city for work. I told him about my family, how I ended up in this job almost by accident. And in the middle of that conversation, in the darkness of the road, I found myself laughing, really laughing. That's when I realized Raphael was different. He wasn't just a coworker. He made me feel comfortable, like I didn't have to pretend, like I could just be me. And that was dangerous, because it's in comfort zones that we let our guard down and disaster happens. Because the more at ease I felt, the more I noticed him. The way he rested his elbow on the window and drove with one hand, relaxed, like he was taking a stroll in the park. The way he ran his hand through his hair when he was tired. That smile that seemed to light up the whole cab, even under the dim glow of the dash lights. I started looking forward to our routes. I started thinking about him on my days off. I began noticing absurd little details, like the scent of the soap he used, or how he rolled up his shirt sleeves when it was hot, revealing bronzed forearms marked by small work scars. And the more I noticed those things, the more I hated myself for noticing. Because Raphael was straight. He'd mentioned an ex-girlfriend once, in passing, while talking about some place we passed. "My ex loved that place," he said casually, like commenting on the weather. And that line hit me like a punch to the stomach. My ex. Of course. I don't know what I expected. For him to talk about a guy? Ridiculous. So I tried to smother it. I tried to treat it like a phase, a passing crush that would go away if I ignored it long enough. But it didn't work, because Raphael wouldn't let me ignore him. He was kind, attentive, the kind who buys coffee without asking, which made everything torture. I couldn't say anything, just pretend. Pretend my heart didn't race when he laughed. 6 months. 6 months of hiding, of pretending, of hating myself for feeling something I shouldn't. And the worst part? Sometimes, just sometimes, I swear I see something in his eyes. Something that makes me wonder if maybe, just maybe, he knows. If he notices the way I look away when he takes his shirt off in the heat. If he notices my voice falter when he leans in too close to reach something on the dash. Sometimes I feel like he sees right through me, and if he knows and says nothing, it means he's being merciful, which would be humiliating. So I keep going. I keep pretending we're just co-workers. Friends maybe, if I'm lucky. I keep hiding this thing that grows inside me every time he smiles in my direction. But last night, something changed. We were on the highway, heading south. It was one of those endless night's dark sky, almost empty road. Just the steady hum of the engine and the amber glow of the dashboard lights on his face. I was driving. Raphael was in the passenger seat, messing with his phone, checking the route. And suddenly, he stopped, turned the screen off, looked at me. "You're acting weird, Lucas." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" I tried to sound casual, but my voice came out too tight. "I don't know. You're different. Distracted. I've been noticing it for weeks. Is something going on?" I could feel my face heating up. I grabbed the wheel harder, trying to look focused on the road. "It's fine, man. Just tired." He kept looking at me for a few more seconds. Those dark, serious eyes now, trying to read something in me. Then he sighed. "Okay, but if you need to talk, I'm here, all right? We spend so much time together, it's no good bottling things up." I could only nod. He went back to his phone, but I could feel that something had changed, that he had noticed I was hiding something. And the worst part? I was starting to realize I wasn't going to be able to hide it for much longer. Last night's route should have been like any other. But then Raphael noticed I was way too distracted, too tense, and he did something I didn't expect. He suggested we stop. The road stretched ahead of me like an endless line cutting through the darkness, but I could barely focus on it. Raphael had noticed. I knew he had. He stayed quiet for maybe 10 minutes, and that was worse than any conversation. Raphael never stayed quiet. He always had a story to tell, a song to comment on, some joke about the idiot driver who cut us off. But now, nothing. Just the steady hum of the engine and the occasional sound of a tire rolling over a seam in the asphalt. I gripped the wheel harder than I needed to. My hands were sweating. I could feel my heart beating at a rhythm that had nothing to do with the truck's steady speed. Had he noticed the way I looked at him earlier? Had it been too obvious when I looked away as soon as he turned? The silence was unbearable. I tried to focus on the road, but it was impossible to ignore his presence beside me, relaxed, while I was falling apart inside. Suddenly he moved. I felt it more than I saw it, because my eyes were glued to the road as if my life depended on it. Then he spoke. "Lucas, are you okay?" 3 simple words. That's all. But the way he said it, with genuine concern in his voice, that low, careful tone, made something inside me tighten. "I'm fine," I answered too quickly. "Why?" "I don't know, man." He turned a bit more toward me. I could feel the weight of his gaze. "You seem, I don't know, tense? Different." My heart jumped. Different. That word echoed in my head like an alarm. "Just tired," I tried. "It's the end of the month. You know how it is." He made a non-committal sound. That sound. That damn sound Raphael made when he didn't believe you but didn't want to push it. I knew it well. I'd heard him use it with other drivers, with dispatchers, with people making excuses. And now he was using it on me. I swallowed. One wrong move now, and I'd lose not just my partner, but the only reason I had to get up early. We stayed silent for a few more miles. Every second felt like it dragged. I was hyper-aware of everything. Every breath he took, every little movement, every time he checked his phone or shifted in his seat. Then he said the thing that made my world stop. "Let's pull over." "What?" The word came out higher than I meant. "Let's pull over," he repeated, this time firmer. "There's a station about 5 miles up." "You're really tense, man. I'm thinking something's wrong with the truck. Or with you. Or both." No need. The road's fine. We're on schedule. Lucas." He said my name like that. Firm, but kind. "We're stopping." And that was it. No arguing. Raphael had decided. My mind spun out. Stop. We were going to stop. At a deserted station in the middle of the night. Alone. Without the distraction of the road. Without the excuse of having to watch traffic. Just him and me. And whatever it was he'd noticed. I saw the station lights appear in the distance, The kind of place that feels too bright against the black of the night. My stomach flipped. Have you ever had that sensation of walking straight into something you can't control? Like watching a movie in slow motion, knowing exactly what's going to happen but being powerless to stop it? That was it, exactly that. I slowed down, signaled, and pulled in. There were hardly any people around. A couple of trucks parked far away, the drivers probably sleeping in their cabs. The convenience store had its lights on but looked empty. Park over there, Raphael pointed to a more secluded area near a closed garage. Of course he wanted privacy. I parked and shut off the engine. The silence that followed was deafening. Raphael was already opening his door. I'll check the engine. You look so tense, I'm thinking there's something mechanical. Better to take a look. Mechanical. He was talking mechanics. Of course he was. But the way he said it, the way he looked at me before getting out, there was something there. Something I couldn't decipher. I sat for a few more seconds, hands still on the wheel, even with the engine off, trying to breathe normally. Raphael knocked on the hood. Come on, help me hold the flashlight. Shit. I opened the door and climbed out. The cool night air hit me hard. After the stuffy heat of the cab, it felt like a shock. I walked to the front of the truck. Raphael had already popped the hood and was leaning over the engine, flashlight in hand. Hold this. He handed me the flashlight, his fingers brushing mine for a fraction of a second. That touch, so brief, so casual to him, so devastating to me. I held the flashlight, pointing it at the engine, trying to keep my hand steady. But I could feel it shaking. Slightly, but it was. Raphael leaned in more, checking fluid levels, fiddling with things I pretended to understand. I wasn't paying attention to the mechanics. I was paying attention to him, to his hands, to the rough, skilled hands that knew exactly what to do, moving with confidence over the engine, to the forearm muscles tensing when he turned something, to the concentration on his face, lit by the yellowish beam of the flashlight. Have you ever tried not to look at someone and failed miserably? Like, your brain literally refuses to look anywhere else? I was stuck. Completely stuck. The smell of oil and diesel mixed with his cologne, that cheap deodorant he always used, but that somehow smelled better on him than it should. He checked the dipstick, wiped it on his shirt, and I found myself staring at the dark mark on the fabric. Then he looked at me, straight into my eyes, and said words I'll never forget. You're running hot, Lucas. My brain froze, completely. The engine, he continued, pulling the dipstick again. It's a bit hotter than it should be. When was the last time you changed the oil? The engine. He was talking about the engine. Obviously he was talking about the engine, but the way he said it, the way he looked at me when he said it. Like 2 weeks ago, I think, I managed to say, but my voice sounded strange even to me. He turned his attention back to the engine. I'll top it off here. You've been really stressed lately. Stress raises the temperature of everything, you know. Engines. People. He chuckled. Everything runs hotter under pressure. I was dying there, trying to process whether he was doing what I thought. Everything becomes a double entendre when you want someone that badly. Raphael grabbed a bottle of oil from the trunk, one of those he always kept for emergencies, and started topping up the level. I kept holding the flashlight, frozen in position, not knowing what to do or say. The station was quiet. Just us, the engine cooling, and the sound of oil being poured. There. He closed the cap and wiped his hands on an old rag. Should be better now. But Lucas, seriously. He looked at me again, and this time held my gaze longer. You need to relax. At the pace you're going to burn yourself out. Burn out. Running hot, under pressure. Every word of his was delicious and agonizing torture. I'll try, I managed to say. He smiled. That easy, confident smile that made my stomach flip. Good. Because I need my co-driver whole. No use you wasting away there alone over who knows what. Alone. He said alone. As if he knew that was exactly it. That I was wasting away. Alone. With a secret that seemed to burn more each day. He punched my shoulder. That casual friend touch that for me meant everything and nothing at the same time, and went to close the hood. "Let's get back on the road," he said. "I'll drive this stretch. You rest a bit." I could only nod. We climbed back into the cab in silence. The kind of silence that presses down on you, that suffocates, that makes every second stretch into an eternity. Raphael closed his door. I closed mine. The click of the lock sounded too loud in the confined space, like we were locking ourselves together in a box of secrets neither of us knew how to open. He didn't start the engine. He sat still, grease-stained hands on the wheel. The silence stretched, broken only by my quick breathing, which gave everything away. Then Raphael turned his head and looked at me. Directly. Without blinking. "Lucas." Just that. My name, but the way he said it made my stomach churn. I swallowed hard. You've been acting weird for weeks." My heart raced. "Me? No, I'm fine. You're not fine." His tone was firm, not angry, just direct, like he was done pretending not to see something. "I know you, Lucas. We've been together in this cab 6 months. I can tell when something's wrong. You don't know me. You have no idea what goes through my head, what I feel every time you breathe near me." But I didn't say any of that. I just stood there, frozen, hands trapped between my knees, trying to make myself smaller, trying to disappear. "Is something going on?" Raphael pressed, his voice lower now, kinder. And somehow that was worse. "Some problem at home? Money? Health?" "No, none of that." "Then what?" I shook my head. "Nothing, I swear. I'm just tired, I guess." Lucas. The way he said my name this time was different. Almost like a plea, like he really cared, like my lie was hurting him too. "Tell me the truth, man. Please." That tone broke my resistance. I felt my eyes sting. I tried to hold it in, but my throat was already tight. My voice came out strangled. "I can't." "Can't what?" "Talk about it." Raphael furrowed his brow, not angry, concerned. "Why not?" "Because." I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears threatening to fall. "Because if I say it, it'll change everything." He was quiet for a moment. Then he leaned slightly toward me. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could feel him there. His warmth. His presence. "Afraid of what?" he asked softly. So soft it sounded like a secret shared just between the two of us. "Of me?" "No!" The word came out too fast, too desperate. "Not you. It's me. It's who I am." Silence again, but this time it was different. Heavy. Electric. Raphael didn't look away. He didn't pull back. He just stayed there, waiting, as if he were giving me space to breathe, to decide. And God, I wanted to. I wanted so badly to tell him, to let it all out, to let 6 months of suffocation pour out of me in one silent scream. But the fear was still there, beating, clamping my chest. What if he reacted badly? What if he was disgusted? What if he asked for a transfer and I never saw him again? What if... Lucas. Raphael cut through my thoughts. His hand moved, slowly, deliberately, then landed on my shoulder. I froze. The touch was light, almost hesitant, but it was there. Real. His warm palm pressing through the fabric of my shirt, burning the skin beneath. "I won't judge you," he said, eyes fixed on mine. "Whatever it is, I promise." And that was it. That promise. That hand on my shoulder. That look that seemed to say, "I'm here, and I'm not leaving." That was what broke the last piece of resistance I had left. I felt the first tear fall. Hot. Involuntary. My voice trembled. "Raphael, I don't know how to say this." "Then don't say it with words," he murmured. "Just let me understand." "How? How do I let you understand without destroying everything? But then I looked at him, really looked, and I noticed something I had never let myself sink into before. Raphael wasn't angry. He wasn't confused. He wasn't uncomfortable. He was there, present, waiting, as if he already knew, as if he'd been waiting for me to admit it for a long time. You already know, don't you? The words came out before I could censor them. You always knew. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Not quite a smile, more vulnerable, more honest. I suspected, he admitted, but I needed you to tell me, in your own way, on your own time. My chest hurt, not from fear, from relief. It's been 6 months, I confessed, my voice breaking. Since the first month we started working together. I tried to stop, I tried to pretend, I tried to just be your friend and nothing more. But I can't, Raphael. I can't pretend I don't feel this anymore. Feel what? He pressed, gentle but firm. I swallowed the lump in my throat, closed my eyes, and finally let the words come out. That I like you, that I think about you all the time, that every time you touch me, I feel like I'm on fire inside, that I know you're straight, that you've had a girlfriend, that it's impossible. But I can't shut it off. I can't stop. His hand tightened on my shoulder. I opened my eyes, and he moved closer. Close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his eyes. Who said I'm straight? Raphael asked, his voice rough. The world stopped. My brain froze, restarted, tried to process those 5 words and failed. What? I mentioned an ex-girlfriend once, he said slowly. Once. And you assumed. But I never said I was straight. His eyes held mine. You decided that. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. So I'm here, he murmured. I've always been here, waiting for you to notice. The cab suddenly felt much smaller. The air grew thick, charged with 6 months of tension, of glances I'd misread, of touches I'd told myself were just friendly. Raphael, I started, but my voice failed. You don't have to say anything more right now, he said, his hand still on my shoulder, his thumb drawing a slow, comforting circle on the fabric. We've got the whole night. We have time. Time. 6 months I spent thinking time was against me. That each shift was torture, a countdown to the moment I'd either explode or give up. But now, for the first time, time seemed to be on my side. I could feel the words building. And when I let them out, there was no taking them back. Raphael's hand stayed on my shoulder, his thumb moving in slow circles that made me want to just melt into my seat. He's not straight. I kept repeating it, trying to make it real, trying to let my mind catch up to what I'd just heard. Raphael is not straight. And he'd known the whole time. He'd been watching me struggle with it. All those 6 months I thought I was hiding everything so well, like I had it all under control, and he'd seen through it. All of it. I felt my face flush, not sure if from shame or something I still couldn't name. Maybe relief, maybe pure terror. Lucas. His voice was low, almost a whisper. You don't have to speak now if you don't want to. But I needed you to know. I finally looked at him. Really looked. The dashboard lights cast soft shadows across his face, making everything about him look sharper, clearer. Those dark eyes I'd spent months trying not to stare at were looking right at me, and my heart couldn't keep its rhythm. Know what? My voice came out hoarse, almost unrecognizable. Raphael hesitated. For the first time since I'd known him, he seemed unsure. That calm confidence he always carried had cracked a little, revealing something more vulnerable beneath. That you're not alone in this, he said, and each word sounded carefully chosen. Whatever it is you're feeling, you're not alone. My stomach twisted, a tight, confusing knot that made me want to laugh and cry at once. You have no idea what I'm feeling, I said, and it came out more bitter than I meant. Then tell me. It was that simple. 3 words. But the way he said them, with that calm, patient voice, as if he had all the time in the world to wait, as if nothing I said could scare him away, it dismantled me completely. I swallowed hard. I started, but the words stuck in my throat. How did I explain 6 months of silent agony? How did I put into sentences this thing that had grown inside me, slow and relentless, until it occupied every empty corner I had? I spend all day thinking about you. The words came out before I could stop them, before I could soften them or hide them behind safer words. I wake up thinking about you. I go to sleep thinking about you. Every shift feels like the only time I'm actually alive. Raphael said nothing, but his hand moved from my shoulder to the back of my neck, his fingers sinking slightly into my hair. It was such a small gesture, but it felt enormous. It felt like it changed everything. I know it's wrong. I continued, because now that I'd started, I couldn't stop. I know you're my co-worker, that we have to keep things professional, that I shouldn't. But I can't turn this off. I tried. God knows I tried. And when you mentioned that ex of yours that time, I thought I had my answer. I thought I was just being pathetic, deluding myself with signs that weren't there. Lucas, no. I shook my head, my eyes starting to sting. Let me finish. Because if I don't say this now, I'll never say it. He nodded, his fingers still at the nape of my neck, steady and comforting. Every time you touch me, even if it's just to hand me the controls or adjust the mirror, I feel like my whole body has been plugged into an outlet. I become hyper-aware of every inch between us. I count how many times you smile at me during a shift. I memorize the jokes you make because I want to remember everything. And I know how it sounds. I know it sounds desperate and too intense and completely insane, but it's the truth. My voice cracked on the last word. I'm in love with you, Raphael, and I don't know what to do with it. The silence that followed was absolute. Not even the engine's low rumble. Not the wind outside against the metal. Just the two of us, breathing in the same cramped space, while my confession hung in the air between us like smoke. I couldn't look at him. Not now. Not after dumping all of that. So I fixed my gaze on the dashboard, on the amber lights blinking softly, and waited. I waited for the gentle rejection, for the careful explanation that I had gotten it all wrong, for the promise that this didn't have to ruin our friendship if we just pretended nothing had happened. But what came was different. You think I didn't notice? Raphael's voice was even lower, almost hoarse. Lucas, I noticed in the second month, the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention, the way you tense when I touch you but never pull away, the way you laugh at my bad jokes like they're the funniest thing in the world. I blinked, finally turning my head to face him. You knew? I suspected, but I was afraid I was projecting, afraid I was seeing what I wanted to see. My heart literally skipped a beat. What did you want to see? He let out a low, half-disbelieving laugh. Lucas, why do you think I offered to give you a ride on the first day? Why do you think I asked to do night shifts with you? Why do you think I make excuses to touch you, to make you laugh, to spend more time than necessary in this cramped truck? Why? I couldn't breathe properly. I don't know, I whispered, because I'm an idiot. He laughed, and this time the smile was real, even if it held something heavier. Because I'm 28 and I should have better control of myself, but apparently when I like someone, I still get nervous. Because your smile makes me forget what I was saying. Because I've made up truck problems just to have an excuse to stop and be near you without it looking strange. He paused, his eyes searching mine. Because I'm in love with you too, Lucas, and I don't know what to do with it either. The world stopped, not metaphorically. I swear I felt everything freeze for a second. The air, time, my own heart. Raphael was in love with me. Raphael, with me. You. I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. But you had a girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend, he confirmed. She broke up with me precisely because she realized I wasn't fully present. because she noticed I was trying to fit into something that wasn't exactly me. He sighed, his hand still at the back of my neck, his thumb tracing a slow line behind my ear. It took me time to accept who I am, and I thought once I did, everything would be easier. Then you showed up, with that quiet way you have, and eyes that see through everything. And I realized accepting yourself is one thing. Actually doing something about it is something else completely. Then why didn't you say anything? My voice came out small, almost childish. Because you're younger. Because we work together. Because I didn't want to be the guy putting pressure on someone who might still be figuring things out. Because I was afraid of ruining what we already have. He rubbed his face, suddenly looking exhausted. And because I was a coward. Honestly. I couldn't think straight. My head was spinning with too much at once, too much information, too many feelings, too many what-ifs. You're not a coward, I said, and this time my voice was steady. You're the bravest person I know. Raphael laughed, but it was a soft, almost sad sound. Then why did I spend 6 months dying of fear to do this? And before I could ask what this was, he leaned in. It wasn't dramatic. No slow motion, no crescendo in the background. It was quick, tentative, like he was still half expecting me to pull back, but I didn't. He pressed his forehead to mine, so close I could feel his breath mingling with mine, warm and uneven. Tell me if you want me to stop, he whispered, and there was a raw vulnerability in that sentence that made my chest tighten. I didn't say anything, because words weren't enough for what I was feeling in that moment. So I closed the distance. The kiss was soft, careful, like we were both checking if this was real, if it was actually happening, or if we'd wake up and realize it was just another dream. But it was real. His lips on mine were real. The hand at the back of my neck, pulling me closer, was real. His taste, slightly salty, mixed with the coffee we'd had hours earlier, was real. When we pulled apart, both breathless with eyes still wide, Raphael gave me a small, real smile that made me feel weightless. That was, he started. Real. I finished. That was real. He laughed, a low, relieved chuckle that echoed in the cramped space of the truck. Yeah, it was real. We sat in the dark, just the dashboard lights on our faces, and for the first time in 6 months, my chest didn't feel like it was going to cave in. I felt light. Raphael brushed his thumb across my cheek, a gesture so gentle it almost made me fall apart. We're going to have to figure out how to make this work, he said, and it wasn't a question. It was a promise. I know, I answered. It's going to be complicated. Work, shifts, everything else. I know. And I don't want to pressure you. We can go slow, at your pace. I held his hand, our fingers entwined. Raphael. Yeah? I spent 6 months wanting this. I think I've already gone too slow. He laughed again, and this time the sound was full of hope. Then we'll figure it out together. Together, I repeated, and the word had never sounded more right. We stayed like that for a few more minutes, just existing in the same space. No pressure, no fear, just us. And when Raphael finally started the engine again and we got back on the road, I realized something fundamental had changed. It wasn't just that he returned my feelings. It was about being seen, about being accepted, about realizing I no longer had to carry everything alone. Raphael reached for my hand, and I took it without hesitation. We've still got about 4 hours until we get there, he said, eyes fixed on the road ahead. I know, I replied, squeezing his hand. It's going to be a long shift. Every shift with you is long, Raphael. It's just that now. I'm not scared of them anymore. He glanced at me, that small smile still playing on his lips. Me neither, Lucas. Me neither. And as the truck cut through the dark night, the road lights flickering around us and our hands linked in the space between the seats, I finally understood what Raphael had said before. We had time. And for the first time, I wasn't running from him. I was running toward him. We drove in silence, Our hands linked. After a while, Raphael spoke first. Honestly, I didn't think you'd ever actually say it. I laughed quietly, still not quite believing any of this. I spent 6 months trying not to do exactly that. Raphael kept his eyes on the road, smiling slightly. I know. I could see you fighting it, but I couldn't push it. It had to come from you. Silence fell again, but now it was comfortable. Different. And then reality started creeping back in, cold and practical, trying to break through our bubble. And now, the question left my mouth before I could think better. A dangerous question, able to turn that dream into a nightmare in the blink of an eye. Raphael glanced at me before turning back to the road. What do you mean? And now? We work together. We share this truck 5 times a week. If this... I didn't even know how to finish. Raphael squeezed my hand, firm this time. Look, we don't need to have all the answers right now. We can take it slow, figure things out as we go. But what if it doesn't work? What if we try and it falls apart? We lose the partnership, the job, everything. He was quiet for a moment, his jaw tight like he was picking his words carefully. Lucas, I understand the fear. I'm scared too. But I've been afraid for too long. I'm not spending the rest of my life being afraid of something real. Look, I won't sugarcoat it. Things could go wrong. It could get complicated. But they could also go great. His voice was solid, certain. I'd rather try and see where this takes us than wonder what if for the rest of my life. I felt my chest tighten, but not from fear. It felt different, like hope. What about work, though? Can we keep that separate? Raphael shrugged. We already work well together. We get along. That's not going to change. The only difference is we won't have to pretend anymore. What if someone finds out? We'll handle it if it happens. But Lucas, look at me. He waited for me to fully turn toward him. His eyes were serious, but there was something in them that made me feel calm. I'm not trying to pressure you. If you need more time, if you want to think it through, that's okay. We move at your pace. But I need you to hear this. I want to try. I want to see what this becomes. And I'm going to be here, no matter how long you need me to be. I felt my eyes get hot. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. No one had ever made me a promise like that. I want to try too. The words came out barely a whisper, but Raphael heard. He smiled that smile that made my stomach turn over. Then we'll try. I nodded, and something huge lifted off my shoulders. Slowly, though. Slowly, he agreed. In our own time. The highway stretched out ahead, streetlights flickering as we drove. But something had shifted. The air felt lighter. Possible. This is going to feel weird at first, you know, I said, trying to shake some of the nervous energy out of my chest. Raphael laughed. It'll be really weird, but we've dealt with weird stuff before. Like when the truck broke down and we had to sleep in the cab waiting for the tow truck. Exactly. We made it through that. We can make it through this. I laughed, and for the first time in months I actually felt like I could breathe. Light. Free. Raphael let go of my hand to take a turn, but once the road straightened, he reached over and took it again. Like it was the easiest, most natural thing. Like it had always been that way. Maybe it had. We just needed the courage to admit it. Are you going to keep driving? I asked after a while. Raphael nodded. You tired? A little. But I'm fine. Then rest. We've still got a good stretch to go. I settled back in the seat, still holding his hand. The cab was warm, the hum of the engine steady and comforting. Outside, the night was dark, but inside the truck, everything finally felt in its right place. Rafa? Thanks. He glanced over at me, that half smile that made me feel everything. For what? For not giving up on me. For waiting. For seeing me. He squeezed my hand again. Always, Lucas. Always. I closed my eyes, letting the exhaustion finally take over. But this time, it wasn't a heavy tired. It was the kind of tired that comes after a long fight that's finally over. And for the first time in a long time, I was able to really relax. Because I wasn't alone anymore. We were together. And maybe, just maybe, that was all we needed. Raphael drove the rest of the way that night. I just sat there watching him. And for the first time in 6 months, that burning feeling was gone. Just warmth now. The kind that keeps you warm without burning you up. Comfortable warmth. You know that moment when you realize the person you thought would never want you actually wanted you all along? When all those months of fear suddenly just dissolve into relief? That weight you didn't even know you were carrying just lifts. That was me in that cab, watching Raphael drive, knowing he'd seen me all along, knowing he hadn't left, knowing we were finally on the same side. Raphael glanced at me and smiled. That easy, confident smile that used to devastate me. But this time it didn't hurt. This time it felt different inside me. It made me feel safe. Like finally, I wasn't hiding. Wasn't pretending. Wasn't scared he'd see too much or know too much. He already knew everything. And he was still there. Still driving with me through the night, like always. Still giving me that half smile. Still here. Raphael was the first to break the silence. He was always better at this than I was. He said he wasn't sure exactly when he first noticed. That at the start, he wondered if he was imagining it. If he was reading the signs wrong. If I was just nervous around everyone, not just him. But then he started noticing the small things. How I'd flush when he got close. How my voice would shake when he touched my arm. How I couldn't look at him during the quiet moments. He said he spent weeks wrestling with whether to say anything. Afraid it would wreck our partnership if he was reading it wrong. Afraid of making me uncomfortable if he wasn't. So he waited. Watched. Tried dropping hints that he was open, available, interested. But I missed all of them. And it almost kept us from what should have happened. Raphael finished talking, and I was silent for a long time. Just taking it in. Realizing how many months I'd spent torturing myself over something one real conversation could have fixed. But then something clicked. Maybe I needed those 6 months. Maybe I needed all that fear, all that confusion, all that burning inside me. Because without it, I never would have found the strength to finally tell the truth. Without that heat, I never would have broken. And if I hadn't broken, we wouldn't be here. So it wasn't wasted time. It was just the time I needed to find my way here. I looked at Raphael again, still watching the road, but I could see that slight smile. Like he already knew exactly what I was thinking. And maybe he did. Maybe he always did. You ever notice how the people who matter most have this strange ability to see you, even when you're trying your hardest to stay hidden? How they just know, even when you're sure you're being careful. Raphael was like that. Always. And now that I wasn't hiding, now that everything was finally out there, I felt how light that made me. How much lighter without that secret crushing me. We didn't plan anything big. We just existed. 2 guys in a truck, finally being real with each other. Not a movie moment, but real. And real was better. I closed my eyes for a second. Felt peace. The peace of not carrying it alone. The peace of having been brave. I'd spent months thinking admitting this would destroy me. Instead, it was the freest I'd ever felt. Being truly seen by someone you love, that's everything. If you're holding something in, afraid you'll break. Sometimes breaking is what you need. You have to overheat before you cool down. And maybe the other person is burning just as hot. Raphael looked at me. I met his eyes and smiled. We didn't know what came next, but right then, we were together. I wasn't running hot anymore, just warm, and it felt exactly right. If this story touched you, leave a like and subscribe. We're here telling stories of courage, because we all deserve to be seen and loved as we are. Don't be afraid to overheat. Sometimes, that's exactly what you need.